Brethren, friends in birth, decay, disease, and death, let us have a talk or instructive conversation as before. You have to endure to listen my clumsy English like a Chinese speaking Thai, as you know it well. You have to estimate what I meant to say, to express the idea. Now we come to the second group, or second tetrad of Anapanasati. The group of 4 again. Then we come to the exercise 5, 6, 7, and 8. You have to know it is a regulation or a rule. When someone begins to practice Anapanasati, he has to begin at the very beginning, that is from the first, the exercise of 1. Supposing now you practicing in the 10th or 11th exercise today, you have to start with the very beginning, the exercise of first, or the exercise of 1. Now we have to repeat it, to continue it with the next. Study the nature of long breathing. Now, thoroughly to know its feature, its influence, its benefit, emphasizing it, repeating it, and then to be the master of it. Then come to the exercise 2, study on the short breathing. Well versed in it, then come to the exercise 3. Know both body, breath body and fetch body, and then come to the exercise 4. Calming down the breath body, that calming down the fetch body as well at the same time. You have to repeat it for some time. Every day, every time you begin to practice the Anapanasati, to have it continue. Now, when you succeed in the exercise 4, for some scale only, some degree only, and that is they can calm down the breath body and touch body. You can go further to the second group, the exercise 5, 6, 7. But in reality, if you want, or in some purpose, you can practice the exercise 4, many aspects, up and up until you obtain absorption or trance, as we have used the term the trance, or absorption, or ecstasy, utmost serenity of the mind. Have to practice it. But now we omit it. Omit it that exercise for the trance or the absorption. Have to be special time, special training. Now we have some scale, only some degree of calming down of the breathing and of the body. You notice this at that moment we can have the experience of piti and sukha, the feeling of piti and sukha. That is the object for the exercise of life. Now we have to discuss the meaning of piti and sukha. As usual, we have the term rapture for piti and happiness for sukha. The two things you have to study it now. In reality, it is a satisfaction. Now, satisfaction from the success of the exercise of flow. We succeed in practicing the exercise of flow, then we can have satisfaction. At first, satisfaction is not calm. It is a new feeling, rather disturbed, trembling. Satisfaction is still in โลดโผนว่าโลดโผนโกลาหลวุ่นวายworryกาลามอีกสิ what is โกลาหลวุ่นวายยุ่งไปหมด what กาลามอีกสิtrembling satisfaction very easy to speaking that tumultuous trembling disturbed satisfaction first until the satisfaction calms down we will call it sukha or happiness. Another way of speaking, the happiness itself, but now in trembling situation, disturbed, not calm. โกลาหลวุ่นวายในภาษาไทย excited maybe. First comes excited satisfaction. We call it rapture. When it calms down, the calm satisfaction, we call it happiness. Compare to know it, differentiate them. What rapture, what happiness. Exercise of five, we have rapture as the object of the practice. You can have rapture from previous time, previous job, previous business, and that you have ever experienced it, having it now in reality in the mind. Even so, you can use it as object for the exercise of life. But now we have a real satisfaction, a rapture from the exercise of flow. We succeed in the exercise of flow. you can have the feeling of success, succeeding the success at the exercise to be used of the jack for the 5 for the exercise of 5. You can have the real thing, not calculating, not only a memory. You have to have the experience upon it, the experience of satisfaction, rapture. We can have a various form rapture. Sometimes we call it momentary rapture. Only momentary. Sometimes we call it pervading on the body rapture. Sometimes we have uplifting, so that we feel the mind and the body floating up. But now we want pervading rapture. Feel it all around the body. What you can try every aspect of it, momentarily of having the body floating up. If it occurs, you have it in your mind, sitting, having the experience of it in the mind all the time, for some time, to be acquainted with it. Or sometimes another rapture, like we call it showering rapture. Feel like a rain fall upon the body, showering rapture. Many form rapture. If some form occurs, repeat it for some time to know every kind of rapture, until you know it well. What is the nature of it? What is the feature of it? Influence of it? Benefit, not finally the benefit of it that we can use to our want. When rapture calms down, it changes to be a happiness. The same thing is two things is the same thing. The two things, rapture and happiness, is the same thing. When disturbed, rapture, then calm, happiness, refer to it in manner, not in essence. In the exercise of 4, we have rapture. To be acquainted with rapture, to have it. Some old event can be used, but not good as the rapture from the success of the exercise of 4. Now and then use it. Sitting with rapture in the mind all the time for some time, until we are acquainted with it. knowing it. Chimrot ว่าอย่างไง Chimrot to taste the taste to taste the taste of it of the rapture every the flavor the taste of rapture that rapture if any rapture comes it is the exercise of 5 repeating it supposing this how we practice upon it for 1 hour to know well very well about the nature of it first. If not you cannot go on, you cannot go further to the next exercise. Now, exercise 4 upon the rapture, having rapture as object of exercise. I'm not sure the term rapture is good equivalent to the PT. As I have told you, you know yourself what English good equivalent to the term PT. Then you have to say disturbing happiness rapture. Repeating it until you fainted with it. At utmost scale of experiencing it. Now we come to the exercise 6 upon the happiness. When rapture calm down, not trembling, not disturbed. We have a happiness. And then we try to experience the taste, the flavor of the happiness, sukha feeling. If the rapture feeling is not calm, you can not have the happiness feeling or sukha feeling. Sometimes you have to try to calm down the rapture until it tends to be happiness. You know well about rapture, what way, how many degrees. Now you have to know well about the happiness the same way, same degree. By experiencing it for some time, adequate time to know it, to understand it first, to realize it. Now you have to know it, and to know that such happiness is utmost happiness to all aspects of happiness. To study until to you know this fact that such a happiness, an utmost happiness to all happiness of any kind You think of happiness in worldly life, from sex, from money, from power, from any kind of happiness, and then to compare to this happiness from the calming of the mind, until you can know that all kind of happiness not better than this happiness. To know when utmost happiness in the whole we call it happiness without bed, without bed. You know bed, to hang at the hook to catch the fish, call it a bed. This happiness is without bed. Another happiness is with bed, especially happiness from sex, sexual happiness. Can be called happiness, but with bed. Now with a bed. If you can be able to be beyond such a happiness with a bed, you can be able to be beyond every kind of happiness in the whole world, in the whole universe, you can say. To try to be beyond influence of such happiness and be beyond all influence of any kind of happiness. Now we come to know it in the point that it ปรุงคำว่าปรุงไม่ฮะปรุง bruise condition it conditions the mind. Such a rapture or happiness, it conditions the mind, the thought, at least the thought to think this or that. The feeling, the true feeling, condition the mind. Another word, concoct. Like a cook, concoct food in the kitchen. Concoct the mind, concoct the thought of the mind. Any kind of feeling and condition and concoct. In Pali we call sankhara. Completely doing and completely done. Sankhara ทำให้ขึ้นมา Such a feeling concoct the mind, the thought. And then we have to look and see in what way and how and when and how many it concoct the thought. In the time we practice this exercise, the six, it had to take you some time to to know it, to understand it, to realize it, to experience it. Give it adequate time in the practice, in the time of training the mind in this exercise. You will differentiate the rapture from the happiness ใช่ไหมทำให้เห็นความแตกต่างทำให้เห็นความแตกต่าง differentiate distinguish the rapture from the happiness. You allow to waste your time in experiencing for this fact that rapture different from happiness. This exercise. The happiness is of more calm, more cool, more silent, more stillness than that of rapture. Testing it, to know it well first in the exercise 6. We have two feelings. Now we come to exercise 7. Studying in the point of to know the condition of the mind. The two satisfaction, that journey happiness, is the conditioner of the mind. And now we come to know, to look, to see, to know about this fact, that the two feeling conditioning the mind. Rapture condition mind in disturbing way, in the disturbing way. Happiness conditions the mind in the calm way. The action of concoct, the action of compile, even action of creating the mind, and that is the thought, the conception of the mind. Now we have the thought as a result from the two feelings, from the action of the two feelings, rapture and happiness, to know the product, the new product from the rapture and the happiness. Especially look at the action of the feeling, concoct, desire, feeling, rapture or happiness, concoct, desire. I think it is good equivalent, desire, for tanha in Pali. bad want, blind want, ignorant want. In Pali we call it tanha. In English we have desire. You have to know well that desire is not a good want. It is a sinly want, blind want. Now we come to know, to watch, to study how many that the rapture happiness concoct the desire, not by calculation, only to by realization upon it, because you have the feeling, the rapture or happiness, and then it condition or concoct the desire, this desire, that desire, and that you have ever been experienced. And then look wider and wider, wider in the whole world, that everywhere, every time. Such a feeling, concoct a desire of the whole world. Having the track in the mind, in that time, allow to waste the time for it, to know it well, to understand it well, that the whole world having feeling to concoct the mind, the thinking, the conception, all the time, everywhere. Until you can see that if you can command or control the feeling, the Vedana, the feeling, it is that we can control the whole world. And the whole world cause us to have desire, this way, that way, this kind, that kind. By means of giving others the object of desire, that is to have a feeling of rapture and happiness. We are enslaved by the rapture and by the happiness. Now we know this truth, this fact, why we study this exercise of the six, to know well about the feeling, condition, the mind, or the dot, every dot of our, anytime, anywhere, every dot comes from that feeling, rapture and happiness. Having the fact in the mind, clearly in the mind for some time. And this is a step of exercise. We will see all sentient being in the whole world is in a situation of น่าสงสารอะไรอย่างนั้น pitiful all sentient being in the whole universe are in the condition of pitiful very usefulness of the practice of this exercise is the 6, the 7, because the rapture or happiness certainly we call it a feeling. Tim Tang. Yes. Step.
แทงกดแสบ
Step. Tim Tang. ภาษาอะไร
ทิมอย่างนี้
Tim Tang.
แสบ
Step. The feeling that sentient being เผาลน burn feeling burn bake
โรสก็ได้
เผาลน the feeling ผูกพัน bind
ไทยครับ
tie
ไทย
bind to tie to bind ครอบงำ dominate ครอบงำ overwhelm all sentient being look this truth, this fact everywhere in the whole world feeling tapping, burning, biting, tormenting all the time. Now all the sentient being love it, the feeling all the sentient being love the feeling of happiness and rapture, but in reality it's a trap. It burns, it binds, it torment, opposite to the feeling of the sentient being. In this exercise, the 7 we can know well about this fact that all feeling, condition, the mind, condition, the mind, the action of the mind, that is the thinking, that is such as desire, any kind of mind การกระทำทุกอย่างของจิต
all
activity of the mind by means of the feeling, the two feelings, rapture and happiness. We study on this fact when we practice the exercise of the 7. Now we come to the exercise 8, the 8. To control the feeling, to control the conditioner of the mind. The feeling is the conditioner of the mind. And now we come to study to control the conditioner of the mind, or the feeling itself. That is to control, to command the feeling the rapture and the happiness. At first, we come to look and see. And the delusiveness, delusiveness, Maya, delusiveness of the feeling. Come to study to know, only delusiveness, not the real thing. The delusiveness of the taste, of the rapture and happiness. Even the thing that the feeling creates it up. And the thought, such as a desire, attachment, or anything that the feeling sets it up. Both the conditioner and the product of the conditioner is delusive. That will decrease the power of the conditioning of the feeling. Now I will tell you in advance that we have success in the practice until we can have absorption or trance further from the fourth exercise, coming down the conditioner of the body. We can have trance absorption. We can command it, decreasing its power by means of the factor of the trance of the absorption. The third trance can get rid of rapture. That is the chance. The third trance can get rid of the rapture. The Chatutha chant, the fourth chant, the fourth trance can get rid of happiness out. Easy way to get rid of every success in having third jhana or fourth jhana, but not yet. Now we have not. We have to use another way. If you succeed in having third jhana or fourth jhana, very easy to get rid of it. In another way, we look atโทษในความหมายที่กว้างที่สุดของคำว่าโทษหรือความเลวร้ายความเสียหายเนี่ยว่าโทษห้าม more than ห้ามโทษ more than that โทษไม่ใช่คุณ opposite to benefit โทษอันตราย danger the danger the two to three the โทษ opposite to benefit calamity what is calamity โทษใช่ไหมcalamity มันยิ่งใหญ่โทษความเลวร้ายharmfulness the acting of conditioning, of concocting, of creating and having a harmfulness ความฉิบหาย
calamity
ruinous of action, of conditioning, of concocting, of creating. Even the rapture, even the happiness, when we come to see in reality the nature of it, it is an enemy, not a friend. Rapture or happiness in reality is the enemy, not friend, not friend. But we love it, rapture or happiness. We come to see in reality that the action of condition and product of condition, and that is the feeling itself and the result from the feeling itself is enemy, not a friend. In other way we can say it is ผู้หลอกลวง deceiver ผู้หลอกลวง Rapture happiness is deceiver to us, to lure us to go in the wrong way. Understand it, realizing it, the feeling of rapture and happiness as a deceiver. Then we can be ourselves, can be oneself, ourselves, not to be deceived by such a thing. Then we can see dreadfulness, น่ากลัว dreadfulness น่ากลัว dreadfulness of rapture and happiness. Until we can see the dreadfulness of rapture and happiness as an enemy, not a friend. We have it as a friend. Now we know it when not a friend, as an enemy. Dreadfulness of a feeling, and that we are under the influence of it. Now we are under influence of it, are influenced by it. Know it well, having it in the mind, repeating it, this knowledge, this realization all the time in the moment of the practice, this exercise. The 8 exercises, the 8. Now, if you succeed in practice the first group, the first 4 groups, as we have discussed the day before, now come to this group. You emphasize the first group until you can calm the body to the calming of the breath. Then comes satisfaction in that. Have that satisfaction as object for this exercise. Repeating it to know well of rapture and happiness, and to know well as a rapture and happiness, a conditioner of the mind, and then try to know that this is enemy, not a friend. These two feelings, enemy, not a friend. and then to calm down the influence of it. To have out of influence of it, the eighth exercise. Venerable Santikaro will help you to understand steps of exercise, of each exercise step by step, until you are going to practice it bit by bit, from the sixth, from the 5th to the 8th exercise. Tonight, what exercise you will do? You have succeeded the first 4 steps. If succeed the 4th step, you can come to do to practice this. It will cause you to think that, oh, too much to study, to practice. But it is necessary, very necessary, to prepare your mind in this way, to have a proper mind, a proper quality, to practice up and up, until you can realize anicca, dukkha, anatta, to have the mind beyond on in front of on things. That's the last group, the 4th group. Now in the 2nd group, only have to improve, prepare the body and the mind, both to be used in knowing, understanding, realizing the ultimate truth of anicca, impermanent, dukkha, dissatisfactoriness, anatta, not the self. That is the goal of the practice. Now try your best to pass through the 1st group and the 2nd group of this. Then we can have 8 exercise totally. Now we have a 2nd group. Friends in birth, decay, disease, the death, the death. Our friend have to know this, to understand this, to have this as an instrument and conveyance to be beyond all problems of the life, to have a new life that is beyond the influence of positivism and negativism. Hope to be beyond influence of positivism and negativism, and the final goal. Now we are in preparing the life, this life, to be a new life. We have only to call it a new life, a life beyond all influence of positivism and negativism. The whole world fall under it. I stop my conversation in instructive meaning for you, friend in birth and decay and death. Thank you to be a good listener endeavor to listen my clumsy English as a Chinese speaking Thai. Thank you.